It's with great pleasure that I welcome back Dr. Sean Patel, who's the CEO and founder of Prep Expert, the title sponsor of the College Admissions Process podcast. Sean, you have a special message for the listeners?
Hey, John, I just wanted to mention for all the parents and students who are listening to this great podcast, we have a really special offer only for listeners of the College Admissions Process podcast for Prep Expert. So if your student is going to be taking an online SAT, ACT, PSAT course anytime soon, or is looking for one-on-one tutoring with top 1% tutors, head over to prepexpert.com. We offer live online courses for every college admissions exam. On top of that, we have the best score guarantees, best curriculum, and best instructors in the test prep industry. And just for listeners of the College Admissions Process podcast, you can get 20% off any online SAT or PSAT or ACT course, as well as one-on-one tutoring. So you can get 20% off. Just make sure you use the promo code College Talk. That's one word, College Talk, and you'll get 20% off just for listeners of the College Admissions Process podcast. And I hope you guys can use that to your advantage, save a bunch of money at prepexpert.com.
Thank you so much, Sean. And to everyone out there, once again, that promo code is College Talk. That's one word, College Talk. Thank you all, and best wishes.
Welcome to The Cap, where we are here to speak with college reps and other professionals in the field of college admissions to help answer all your questions and guide you through every step of the process. So if you're serious about college admissions, you've come to the right place. Are you ready? Let's talk about it. And now, here's your host, Dr. John Durante.
Welcome to The Cap, the College Admissions Process podcast. I am your host, John Durante, and it gives me great pleasure to introduce to you today Alyson Remsing, who's the Assistant Vice President of Enrollment Management at Drew University. Alyson, thank you so much for being here today. How are you?
Great. Thank you so much for having me today, John.
It's our honor and pleasure. And Alyson, for listeners who may not be as familiar with Drew University, how do you describe what makes Drew stand out among small liberal arts colleges, particularly given its location, size, and of course, its academic philosophy?
Yeah. So some of the things that I think make us stand out are definitely our location. So we're located in Madison, New Jersey, which in my opinion is a perfect college town, very walkable downtown with quaint shops and restaurants for our students to take advantage of. But we're called the University in the Forest. So we're a beautiful green campus, literally located in a forest. But again, with access to a downtown and also access to New York City. So we are a 50-minute train ride into Manhattan. So our students kind of get the best of everything. Big city, college town, and a beautiful, safe campus. In terms of our size, we're right around 1,700 undergraduate students. But one of the things that I think that makes us a little bit unique is that our students are coming really from all over. We have 43 states represented as well as 56 countries. So students are really going to mix and mingle with other students that have had very similar backgrounds and then very different backgrounds. So I think you're going to learn from your classmates. And I think another thing that kind of makes us a little bit different does go hand in hand with our proximity to New York City. We actually have 7 New York City semesters where students go in on the train 2 days a week. We have classroom space in the city, and they're learning what that feels like in a variety of different subject areas. So we have a semester on Wall Street. We have a semester with the United Nations. We have a museum and cultural management semester. So there's a lot of different things for our students to kind of get an experience outside of their comfort zone and really feel what that feels like to be commuting to the city and navigating what that looks like.
Well, you mentioned that you represent 43 states and 56 countries, and you're also known as the University in the Forest with access to a downtown area and New York City. Not only can students go to New York City to be social, but you also have classes there. So you really do have the best of both worlds. Now, Allison, the last time Drew joined the podcast was back in April of 2022. Since then, what have been some of the most meaningful developments academically, socially, or even in terms of your overall student experience?
Yeah, so really exciting news that has just launched this coming spring semester. We are in the process of developing a new college. It has yet to be named, but it is going to allow students to design their own program while tackling real world problems in real time. So, we're looking to be really innovative with this new college, and this spring will be our very first cohort.
Well, that's terrific. And one of the things that students and families really want to hear about is what happens when they apply. So, Allison, can you walk us through the different ways students can apply to Drew, early decision, early action, or even regular decision, and whether applying through one pathway offers any advantage in terms of admission or even merit-based scholarships?
Absolutely. So, at Drew, we like to keep it simple. We have a variety of different decision plans, which I'll go through, and you can apply to Drew via the common application or also the coalition application. I would say the majority of our students do apply via the common application. We have an early decision deadline of November 1st, as well as an early decision 2 deadline of January 15th. So, with our early decision applicants, there are some advantages. So, those are the first decisions we are releasing for early decision 1. So, those students will typically have their decision before the Thanksgiving holiday. And we are really taking into consideration that Drew is where they want to go. So that I think plays into the decision-making process. Like, we know these students are committed, and we wanna make sure that we're able to provide them with that opportunity if Drew is their first choice. There are some perks with applying early decision besides finding out early that you're into Drew and that you're committed. We do have parking available for our students that apply early decision. So typically, a student that applies to Drew and is admitted under early action or a regular decision, they cannot park on campus until junior year. For our students that apply early decision 1 and early decision 2, they are able to park on campus. So that is kind of a perk. They also have priority registration going into that first semester of freshman year. The early decision students will be placed in their classes first. So, some perks. Our early action deadline is December 1st. So, I would say we receive the bulk of our applications during that early action time period. With that time period, we try to get as many decisions out as possible before the December holiday break, with the caveat that the applications need to be completed. So we're still waiting on all the materials, but we are trying to get you those decisions as quickly as possible. For students that are a little bit later in the process and realize, hey, Drew is definitely where I want to go. I want to take advantage of that parking on campus. We do have an early decision 2 deadline of January 15th. Again, same perks come with that, the priority registration as well as parking, and you're locking in. And again, we're taking that into consideration that Drew is really where you want to go when we're reviewing your application. And then our regular decision deadline is February 1st. I would probably not advise students really anywhere to apply regular decision if you have the opportunity to apply early action at places. You don't want to be putting yourself in a more difficult applicant pool. And I think sometimes with regular decision that can happen because colleges, and I know specifically at our institution, at Drew, we take a lot of our class in the early decision and the early action stages. So we might be a little more competitive when we are looking at those regular decision applications.
Well, that's great advice for students to consider the ED round or at the very least the early action round because as you put it, the vast majority of the students are really coming out of those rounds. And so if you're applying regular decision, still have an opportunity to be admitted, but the chances are less as you're starting the process so early in terms of your ED round and then your early action round. Now, Allison, if a student applies early action, hoping to be considered for the honors college, but then is deferred to regular decision, are they still eligible for honors consideration? And how should families think about that scenario?
Yeah, absolutely. So with us, if a student is applying in the early action round and is considering the honors program, the chances are likely that they would not be deferred to regular decision because that typically the students that are looking at our honors program are the more competitive students, and we would be admitting those students in that early action round.
Understood. So let's pull back the curtain even further on the application review itself. Once a student submits an application to Drew, what happens next? Who reads the file? How many people are involved? And what factors tend to matter most in your application review?
So at Drew, we do read based on geographic location. So every student is assigned an admissions counselor based on where they go to high school. So the first review of that application would be your geographically assigned admissions counselor. And I just want to put a plug in here. That person that is assigned to your file is probably the person that's visiting your high school, is coming to the college fairs in your area. So students have the opportunity to get FaceTime with that person junior year and in the fall of their senior year as we are out visiting high schools and doing college fairs. So that person really is going to be your guide through things. And we, as a small school, like to make it personal and we like to get to know our students. So again, that person that's going to take that first pass at your application is the person that's probably coming to see you at your high school or conduct college fairs in your area. So they're the first line. Then we do have a second read process where there might be a few other admissions counselors taking a look at that file. And then we also have a committee that would be the upper management of the admissions office reviewing some of those files that might need a third look to see if there's something questionable or if there's something that the first two rounds need some additional assistance with. What we're looking for when we're reviewing files, it's multiple things. It's not just one thing. We do read holistically. We're really looking to see if the student can be successful at Drew. So we are looking at courses. We are looking at the rigor. We're looking at their grades. We're also looking to see if the student's going to be a part of our community. We have a very engaged campus community, and we want students that are going to continue with that. So we want to see that there's been some sort of involvement, and we want to see what students have been passionate about at the high school level. And so it's really a little bit of everything. And we're also looking at demonstrated interest. So is this student interacting with us? Did we meet them at the high school when we attended? Have they come and visited campus? Are they talking to us or picking up the phone when we give a phone call? So those are all things that we are looking at while we're reviewing the application. So it's not just one thing, it's multiple things.
Well, I appreciate the fact that you talk about how you do track demonstrated interest and students. As Allison said earlier, the representative that visits your high school or that you might see at a local college fair, they are likely the person that will be reviewing your application to begin with the process because Drew does review by geographic area. And so each area has at least one rep representing it. And so remember to say hello, ask thoughtful questions. If you visit campus, perhaps follow up with an email, go to virtual events, see if they're on campus and meet them if you can. All of these things add up to a lot in the review process at Drew because they do track demonstrated interest. And again, getting to know that person that ultimately will review your application can only help you in the overall process. Now, Allison, for students whose transcripts include a dip in grades, lighter course rigor, or a particularly challenging period, what's the most effective way for them to provide context so your team understands the full picture?
So there's a few different ways to do that. I know some students will use the essay to address a dip in the grades or a little bit less rigor. That would not be my first choice because if you're using the essay to address that, then you're not telling us something else in the essay about you, something that we don't know. You could also use the additional information section, but really how I would go about this and what we sometimes will ask of students is schedule a conversation with, again, your admissions counselor that's reviewing your file. That's a way to humanize the process. Get FaceTime. It could be virtual. You could come to campus, but it's a way that we get to know you outside of what's in that application and what's on that transcript, because we know that the application, there's a human, there's a person behind that, and it's not just grades. So we want to hear your story. We'll sometimes request an interview, typically to address some of these things that might not make sense on the transcript if there is a dip. But you can also proactively do that. And again, the person that you're going to be chatting with is the person that's most likely going to be going to bat for you when your application goes to that second read or the committee phase.
Hey, podcast friends, if you've been enjoying the College Admissions Process podcast, I'm excited to share my new book, Straight from the Admissions Office, Insider Strategies for College Applications. It's packed with insights and tips from over 250 podcast episodes with admissions professionals designed to make the college process less overwhelming. Whether you're a student, parent, or college counselor, it's a valuable resource for navigating the admissions process. By grabbing a copy, you're also helping to support the podcast. The links are in the show notes. Thank you, and best wishes to all with the college admissions process.
Well, that's great advice. In addition to the additional space on the Common App, what you're mentioning is to come in, meet with the rep, set up an appointment, whether it's in person or virtual, to really talk about anything that needs explanation in the overall application so that you students are given context as opposed to leaving it up to the admissions professionals to just speculate as to why there might be a low grade in 10th grade or what have you. Now, Alyson, the activities section, it limits students to just 150 characters, not words, but only 150 characters per entry. Yet it's incredibly important, right? Because this is where you get a feel for what the student did outside of the classroom while in high school. So what tends to stand out to your admissions team? And can you share an example of a student who used that space especially well by showing some depth, commitment, or even some impact?
Yes. So, as I said earlier, we're looking to build a community. So, we want students that are passionate about something and are going to bring that passion to Drew. So, there is, again, limited space. So, when students are filling that out, I think it's important that they're thoughtful in what they're marking down as their activities. This is a funny example. Sometimes students will write going to the gym, and that is like that you're wasting your space on that, because we want to see other things that you're really doing that are making an impact outside of just you working out. Seeing it more and more often these days. But I think that what you should be focusing on are things that you're really putting a lot of time and effort into over the span of your 4 years. So if you did one club during ninth grade and didn't do it again for the rest of your high school career, that's probably not something that you should be putting on that activity section. It should be something that you've been committed to for multiple years. What I really like to see is that a student has multiple things that they've done that they've been committed to. So that could be playing a sport, that could be involved in theater or music or community service. That could be a job. So it doesn't have to be all things related to in school. It can be things that you're doing outside of school. But what we're really looking for is that you've done things outside of the classroom and that you're not just sitting at home watching Netflix. We want to make sure that you're engaged in some sort of way. And that looks different for all students. But I think really making sure that you're thoughtful and not putting every single club you've been in like over your 4 years, even if it was just for a short amount of time. It should, again, show some depth and commitment, because we want you to be committed when you come to our institution. One way I think students can effectively get their activities and things across is uploading a resume. I've seen students do that more and more often, and it really gives you more space to elaborate on the things that you've been involved with and the things that you're passionate about. So I would recommend, if you're able to, I know that at Drew, you're able to upload your resume. That is a great way to kind of get things across.
Well, I think that's a great piece of advice. For institutions that allow you students to upload a resume, definitely upload it, because you don't want to be limited to just the 150 characters that the Common Application allows. And I appreciate your overall explanation, how really you're looking for quality, not necessarily quantity. And you're emphasizing, of course, that the list is going to differ student to student. Now, another thing that's really important to students and their families is this thing called college cost. Affordability is top of mind for many families. So, Alyson, what should they understand about Drew's approach to financial aid, scholarships, and making a Drew education accessible?
We've all seen all of the headlines, and college is expensive, but it really is an investment in the student's future. At Drew, we offer generous merit scholarships based off of the application for admission. So if a student is admitted, most likely when they receive their acceptance letter, they will see a merit scholarship. So those range from $15,000 to $30,000, and those are renewable all 4 years as long as a student is making academic progress. So we're not yanking that away if a student has a bad semester, as long as you're progressing from freshman year to sophomore year to junior year, senior year, your merit scholarships hold in place. Additionally, we also offer need-based financial aid, and that is based off of a family's submission of the free application for federal student aid. But as a small institution, we understand that sometimes the FAFSA does not necessarily show the true financial aid or the financial picture of a family. So we have a more personalized approach. At Drew, your admissions counselor is going to reach out to you after we send you your financial aid offer. We're going to walk you through what that financial aid offer looks like. And if it needs to be re-examined because we don't see the whole picture, we're going to go over that with you, and we are going to get more information from you and connect you with our financial aid office, because sometimes we are able to take other things into consideration that aren't necessarily taken into consideration through the FAFSA. We are able to give out federal need-based financial aid as well as institutional need-based financial aid. We do have a work study program at Drew where students can get a job on campus and make money. And over 85% of our students receive some sort of financial aid, whether that be a merit scholarship, need-based financial aid, or a combination of both. But we really, again, make it a personalized approach. We're not just going to send you a financial aid offer and say, figure it out. We're going to walk you through that process.
Well, you definitely made it clear that it's a personalized approach, and I appreciate how you explained that students get merit scholarships in the amount of $15,000 to $30,000. But you also pointed out that it's over 4 years as long as the students maintain their grades. But I really appreciate how, again, that personalized approach I think is so important and an indication to families that if you have questions regarding admissions or financial aid, definitely reach out. There are people at Drew University that are there to help you. They are admissions representatives. They want to admit you. They're looking for reasons to admit you. So feel free to reach out if you have any specific questions that is important to your family. Alyson, did you want to say something more?
Yeah, so for students that are really interested in Drew early in the process and want to see if Drew is going to be affordable, we actually have an early read program that we start this summer of students in between their ending junior year, starting senior year, where we're able to give you an early estimate on what your merit scholarship will look like, as well as what any potential need-based financial aid could look like for you at Drew. And this is how we have some of our students applying early decision, because they already know what that financial piece will look like. And it's not really any sort of commitment to Drew. We're able to easily do this for you in the summer prior to senior year.
Well, we really appreciate you talking about that early read program. So again, students, families, if you have any questions, reach out. And of course, Alyson, any links that you want to put in the show notes, just send them to me. And of course, we'll make them available to the students, families, and college counselors that listen to the podcast. Now, Alyson, for students with IEPs, 504 plans, or learning differences, what academic and personal support systems are in place at Drew to help them succeed?
So at Drew, we really pride ourselves in making sure that our students have the support that they need throughout their 4 years at Drew. We have a writing center, we have academic coaching, and we also have subject area tutoring. For students that are also looking to talk to a counselor, we also have a full-blown counseling staff if students are having any issues with their mental health or just want to talk to someone for additional support. We also have two signature programs. We have the Drew Learning Support Program. And with this program, it is a fee-based program, and you do have to apply for this program. But essentially, the student is meeting 2 times per week with their own academic coach, and the student's working with that coach to identify barriers that are preventing the student from being successful, and they work together on ways to address those barriers. So with this program, parents or guardians will also be receiving progress reports. So it really is a full buy-in. The student, their academic coach, and their support system at home. And it's really to make sure that the student is successful. Now, some students might do this for a year and say, okay, I have it. Like I got this. I can do this on my own. And some students might want to continue with this program for additional years, and that's perfectly fine. Another program that we have is our summer transition program. And this is really for students that have an IEP or a 504. And it's kind of a boot camp to get them ready for college to start. It's going to address study skills, time management, writing skills, talk about how to read a syllabus and what that means, and also really introduce the students to all the resources available on campus. And this is held August before students actually move in for the start of the semester.
Well, once again, more evidence that Drew really has a supportive environment. What a great community that you really offer something for everyone, both inside your classes and beyond. Now, you've worked, Allison, with countless students and families over the years. What's one question you wish families ask more often because it would genuinely help them make a more informed decision?
So I'm going to change this question a little bit and say it's not a question, but it's more of an opportunity that I don't think enough families take advantage of that I think would be very beneficial. I think lots of students go on the college tour, lots of students will meet with their admissions counselor, but one thing I don't think students do enough of is interacting with faculty and sitting in on classes. So I think that if given the opportunity, a student should come in and see what the academics are going to be like at the institution, because you might love the buildings and think everything's pretty, but you need to be comfortable with what's going on in the classroom and also be excited about what the offerings are. So I think when given the opportunity, and I know that we do this at Drew, we allow seniors to sit in on classes and have them meet with professors because you want to hear from the experts about what you're going to be learning. And you also want to see from your peers, like, what is that classroom experience like? What's the interaction with the professor? What does it feel like to be sitting in those classrooms? So I think that's really, again, not a question, but a suggestion to really, if you have that opportunity, sit in on those classes or shadow a student and kind of see what that life looks like before you make that decision.
Well, I think that's a great piece of advice. Again, if you have the opportunity, students, to talk to a professor, to sit in on a class, and definitely speak to students that are, in fact, current students at Drew or whatever university you're applying to, it really is a great way for you to really determine whether or not the school is indeed the right fit for you, both academically and socially. So we appreciate that. And look, Allison, this has been a phenomenal conversation. I'm just wondering, is there something we haven't covered, something that I didn't ask, or a topic that didn't come up that you'd like to share with us now?
Yeah, one of the things, and I should have talked about this earlier, that makes Drew unique is that we guarantee our students two immersive experiences. So all colleges are going to have you sit in the classroom, learn in the classroom, interact with professors. But what we really do at Drew is push you to get out of your comfort zone and learn in a different way. So immersive experiences at Drew, there's a multitude of them. So I talked briefly about our New York City semesters. So those are the days where, or the courses where you go into the city 2 days a week. And again, this is typically junior or senior year. We're not throwing you on the train your freshman year and saying, go navigate New York City. But the New York City semesters are one way that students are able to do an immersive experience. Studying abroad, we run a London semester every fall. We've been doing that since the 1950s. So students from Drew go with other Drew students as well as Drew faculty. Drew students all live together. They take courses in London, just like they'd be taking courses at Drew. And then they have the opportunity to really explore everything that London has to offer. We have a very robust career center, and internships are something that we really pride ourselves on. The alumni base at Drew really likes to give back and likes to get connected. So the career counselors as well as the professors at Drew are going to make sure that students are getting connected with individuals in areas that they're interested in and get those internships going. Some students will do multiple internships. Some students will go abroad, do internships. And then we also have the Center for Civic Engagement. So giving back is another way students are able to really get their hands dirty and do one of those immersive experiences and make a change for the better in our community. And then we also have a ton of research opportunities. So those different ways of learning are ways that students are able to gain purposeful experiences and get credit for them.
Well, that's great. Such a great overview of everything that you offer in the classroom and beyond. This has been a phenomenal conversation. Thank you so much for your time, Allison. Unfortunately, it does lead us to that last question, which is, what are your top three pieces of advice? And you've given so much already, but what are your top three pieces of advice for students and their families getting ready for the college process?
Sure. So one thing I think that is super important is that students and families have an honest conversation early on in the admissions process about what is feasible for the students, both in the sense of location as well as cost. Far too often, I see students getting their hopes up on certain institutions only to find out that financial barriers are going to be in place and it's not going to be affordable for the family. Additionally, I see students wanting to maybe go far away from home, and that is not going to work with the family situation. So I think having those conversations before you get into the actual application process is super important. You want everybody to be on the same page with things. Also, I think students should make sure that the institutions they're looking at have options for them. So 17, 18 years old, that's kind of young to know what you want to do for the rest of your life. Students might think one thing is what they want to study, and then they get to a college and realize after their first semester, whoa, this is not for me. I don't want to study this. So I think students have to make sure wherever they're applying, there's a plan A, a plan B, and a plan C so that you're not trying to figure out what to do if the first program that you thought about studying isn't going to be a fit. You want to make sure that you have other things to fall back on. And then my third piece of advice is definitely visiting campuses. Everybody has a good virtual tour. Everybody's website has great pictures on it. But until you step foot on campus and see what that feels like, you're not going to know if it's the right fit for you. Additionally, which goes with something I said earlier, you also need to see what that distance feels like and if that's comfortable for you and for your family. I think some students think going again a little bit further away from home is going to be easy until they actually do that drive or flight or bus ride, whatever it is. So you need to feel what that distance feels like and if that's something that's comfortable with you. And I think it's also important that you're visiting when there's students on campus. So I know a lot of families will plan campus visits over the summer, which is great. But you also want to see what it's like when there's lots of students on campus and know what that, again, campus is going to feel like and see if you kind of feel that the vibe is the right vibe for you.
Well, I think those are great pieces of advice. You really talked a lot about fit and the importance of visiting because when you visit, you really get a sense of how far it is, whether it's too far, too close. But also, like you said, if you could be on campus when students are actually there in session, it really gives you that feel that it's not easily found on a website or anything else. You really got to immerse yourself to find out students if in fact the school is the right fit for you. But I also appreciate earlier how you talked about financial fit and the importance of families really having those conversations early, because the last thing that you want is to be admitted to a school of your top choice only to find out that you can't afford it. And so using things like the net price calculator, you could search Drew University net price calculator, and that'll give you some help in terms of determining financial fit. Alyson, this has been phenomenal. You're terrific. I can't thank you enough for joining us today. You were awesome.
Thanks, Sean. It was fun.
The pleasure was all ours. And to everyone out there, good luck with the college search. Take care all, and best wishes.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of The CAP, the College Admissions Process Podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show. If you did, please don't forget to tell a friend and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and wherever you listen to your podcasts. I am your host, John Durante, and I look forward to seeing you on the next episode of The CAP.
Thank you for listening to the College Admissions Process Podcast presented by Prep Expert. Prep Expert offers live online SAT and ACT courses with the best score guarantees, instructors, and curriculum. Go to prepexpert.com to guarantee your child's success.